I'm going to put it on the iPhone.
Yeah, it's okay. So welcome everyone to this Instagram Live podcast about the Bachelor Digital Society. I'm Thomas Frissen, I'm the Associate Program Director of the Bachelor Program. And today we want to talk about everything about this Bachelor, including courses in the Bachelor, but also where does this Bachelor train you for, what kind of jobs can you do, what kind of master programs are at the horizon for people who study this program. I am today joined here with four students, 3 students and an alumna. So we have Rafa, Sophie and Leonie. Of course, these are just some names, so maybe who the heck are you?
Yeah, who are we? Who am I? I'm Rafa. I'm a second year student ambassador of Digital Society right now. I come from Spain. Really happy to be here right now. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, hello, I'm Sophie. I am also a second year Digital Society student. I'm from the United States. And also here to give another perspective on the program.
And I'm Leonie. I'm a now alumni of this program. I started it in 2019 when the program itself started. And I graduated, a year and a half ago now. And I'm in the vicinity of this program. And I stuck in the topic because I'm working at the Brightland Smart Services campus, which is about 20 minutes from here. And I'm happy to then also explain what life after the program is like a little bit.
Nice. Maybe can you say already a little bit about what the Brightlands campus is?
Yep. So the long title is the Brightland Smart Services Campus, BSSC for short. And at its core, it's an ecosystem which connects tech companies to knowledge institutes like Maastricht University and programs like this one. And a lot of the work that we do is in and around innovation with a focus on human-centric AI. And one of the aims that we have is to become the center in Europe for human-centric AI. So we work in a lot of different areas of technology and society, but we always focus on the person at the center of it, which is also very closely related to what we learned in this program. And I'm personally a program manager of our Techruption program. So it's our innovation program where we connect knowledge institutes like Maastricht University or Open University to our partners like either Herlen, like the municipality, or Maastricht municipality. But we also connect to places like Rabobank or ING or the Ministry of Defense. So we have a wide array of partners that we then connect to our knowledge partners, and together we innovate in different realms, for example, digital twinning or quantum computing, and try to see how we can make this technology applicable to society and people in general.
Nice. Yeah, you already dived on many of the topics I think that we may also talk about now in the context of the Bachelor. But it's good to hear that there is indeed this knowledge hub or ecosystem just a stone's throw from the faculty, where also the expertise is needed.
Yeah,
trained in the Bachelor Digital Society. Maybe just to start with a little bit, I would like to hear you all sit here as a student or as ex-student, but what is the Digital Society, the Bachelor program? What is it really for you?
Well, for me, it's a Bachelor that really explains how basically how technologies can potentially affect you in many ways, definitely. As well, we all know, it's a very interdisciplinary program that can teach you in many ways and in many different perspectives. They talk about more the historical, the philosophical, even the technical aspects of technology and their progress, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with Rafa. I think it, for me, really gets to the heart of what I feel like is being left out in a lot of conversations about technology. So it's, considering all of the social factors surrounding the development of technology and looking to the future of how to make it both the most equitable and the most ethical process that it can be.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that is very needed right now for the future.
Absolutely.
I think I would say also now in hindsight that one of the things that was most useful and also most applicable is the connection between the technical and really having the sort of hard science knowledge of technology with the social. And in the social, you have the social sciences and humanities side. So you can go from psychology to politics to ethics to philosophy. And in this bachelor, you really get the basics in so many different ranges of technology and so much background that you then can apply relatively directly. That I think one of my main takeaways and how I would explain it is that this bachelor, it shows you how technology can impact society and how in turn society impacts technology and how to understand these relationships and then try to manage them better in whatever way that better wants to be interpreted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I hear you all three saying it's a combination of multiple disciplines and so on. And I've heard already a few, but what kind of disciplines do you encounter in the program?
Should me to start with that one?
Mm-hmm.
Right. In terms of the disciplines, I don't know if you mean more of the content courses or the skills courses.
The scientific disciplines. What kind of disciplines do you encounter?
Well,
Yeah, I mean, being here at FASOS, the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, it takes a primarily social science and humanities look at technology. So I would say the majority of what we do is humanities based. Looking into people and how technology impacts people. But then we get some of the hard sciences. We get a little bit of, data science and data analysis and statistics. So yeah, I would say those are the two main combinations. Yeah.
And I think if you just want to throw in some key terms, it's things like history, there's politics, there's psychology, there's philosophy, and then there's also public policy and more specifics, but you also understand the development of AI specifically, or you understand how ethics and technology can interact in courses like The Good Life, where you learn how technology can make our life either better or worse, and maybe how to improve your life by using technology, or how to manage technology in a way that really creates a good life rather than just a life that is technologically enhanced.
And you're talking a lot about technology. I heard already AI. What kind of technologies do you study really in the program?
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, even we talk about social media. We talk about physical technologies. So, phones, laptops, where they go after they're done being used. Technologies of the future, AI, large language models.
we talk about machines. We talk about future machines. So the first machines about communication devices. The first one, how it evolved, why did it evolved, how algorithms, systems, more of analysis softwares as well, more on the skills course. But
I think something really cool is also that you can get quite meta level on what technology actually means, and something that we do a lot in this program is question our vocabularies and questioning our assumptions of what technology is or can be. And you learn that technology could also just be a cup, and that technology is not what we tend to think, which is codes and computers and smartphones, but that technology encompasses so much more than just the tech-based things that we usually have in mind, and how all of these things are technologies, and how all of these things then interact with each other and then also impact us. And that basically clothes are, for example, also a technology, and that you have to be very specific in what you mean with technology when you're talking, and you have to be mindful of all of the different ways technologies can evolve and what technologies actually are when you're talking about them.
And so maybe how did the program then give you a new perspective on technology, or maybe specifically digital technology, to leave the clothes and the cups? Of course, this is something that we discuss, but at the core is, of course, digital technologies. And how has the curriculum, maybe for you the whole 3 years, Leonie, but for you the current 2 years that you followed, how did that has changed your way of how you look at society, how you look at our everyday relations with digital technology? I mean, we're now here on a live podcast, and how do you look at that?
well, I would say that before coming here, I had a very simple vision of what technology was. I had this thing of technology is a tool that makes life easier. I just had that vision in my mind. But I then realized that it's more complex, and especially when we did on our first course, Surveillance Society, really popped off a lot. with a lot of new technical things that I could have learned, all the philosophical parts of how it was. And then also in the Good Life, the most recent course we're doing right now, it really opened to how technology actually is helping creating a better life for some people, but not in all aspects, definitely.
Mhm.
I think I had a very pessimistic view of technology. I felt like it was something that was, creeping into every piece of our life and was threatening jobs. And it was sort of this mysterious dark cloud. But my perspective was really changed by, we had a course on ICT revolutions. And so learning about the history and the historical development of technology, from human computers performing mathematical equations to, technological computers and radios and, how every step of the process, there were things that people were scared of, but how society adapts to the changes and how eventually it does help to improve our society. And so looking at it at a much more broad view, but within that broad view, learning about the details of each step really gave me a much more realistic view of the current and the future of technology.
I gotta mention one of the ones that really opened my eye as well is in Artificial Society. Remember that one when we talked about the fourth industrial revolution and everything that was related to it? That really changed a bit of my perspective on how technology is actually changing right now the world.
And how so? Can you explain that?
Yeah, I can try and explain a bit with. Could I explain maybe the horse analogy and how that works in job polarization?
Shortly? No?
Yeah, I'll try to. Well, basically, on all industrial revolutions that we've seen around, we have this thing of losing a lot of jobs, also gaining a lot, right? Which is the nature of industrial revolution, where technology replaces old technology to make it more effective, better. The problem is that on this fourth industrial revolution, which is automation, there's a problem that the ones who are being replaced instead of technology is us, which is creating a bit of a challenge for us to coexist with this revolution.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I find interesting is in what you're saying also, Sophie, is you had a negative view or pessimistic view of technology. So why would you then choose for a Bachelor Digital Society? That fascinates me then.
Yeah, so I went to a very unique high school. I went to a STEM high school. So I was really involved in technology from, pretty early in my education compared to university. And so I was really aware of how technology was being used and specifically how it was being used in education. And so I think it gave me a lot of unique opportunities and a lot of unique knowledge, but it really pointed out a lot of the downfalls of technology. And so it really gave me a passion to get in deeper to the problems, to find solutions for the problems, and then to implement those solutions into the world. So I guess for me, it started out as feeling desperate for solutions and feeling like I wanted to be somebody who is gonna, help make sure that other people still have jobs and have secure lives. So I think that's how it has started, and now obviously I'm much more open to all of the good things that technology does as well. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was it for you, Leonie? Why did you choose? Because when you started this program, the program didn't exist yet.
No. When I started, well, actually, the reason I came here was because I came to an experience day in April 2019. And Kathleen, who was also the program director for most of my tenure here, gave a presentation on, I think it was privacy in kids, and also how a university in the US, I think, Purdue University, was surveying its students. And it brought up this question of whether the university was trying to take better care of its students or if the university was actually being overprotective and was surveying them. And already during that first day, I thought that those were fascinating questions and that it was a philosophical debate, but it was not something that was, very far away and very abstract, but that was directly relevant and that was happening as we were speaking. And also a lot of the students that were during that experience day participating also had super cool insights that just made me want to continue that conversation with them, but also the professors. And I was a bit ambivalent about technology at the time, and I still am. I go through phases with technology quite a lot. I do have to say, while I was doing this bachelor, I was probably more critical than I am now. I think it's quite different to work with technology than it is to study technology. And I think academia in general, one of its default settings is be critical, see where the problems are so you can try to make sure that it's better. And now in my job, I'm more on the side of trying to create technology that is good and trying to make sure that what we're producing is good. So yeah, it changes, and sometimes I'm still very critical, and in general, I'm still quite critical, which I think is very important and is one of the things that we get taught that I think just marks this bachelor, is don't just take things at face value, but actually study the technology, take a look at what it does, and then, as you said, try to implement positive changes, try to make sure that what you're learning is not just up in your head, but then also out in the world, which is what I'm trying to do.
So, Sophie, you were maybe a bit pessimistic, you were a bit ambivalent, and Rafa, were you maybe a tech optimist with UX as your dream job?
Yeah. I'm a tech optimist. I'm still am. So I'm still critical about it now, but definitely a tech optimist. I love technology. I think it's doing good to humanity, but I also think that it is of our choice to also create better technology in more ethical ways. And well, UX, as you mentioned, UX design. I don't know how to explain it for some people, but what I want to create is more of a. If I'm creating technology for the daily use of people, I wanted to do it in a way that is good for the people. And I think that everything we're doing in Bachelor of Digital Society is helping on that.
So, what motivated you then to study this program?
Well, I wanted to kind of differentiate a bit myself of other user experience designers, as I wanted to not only be trained on the skills of user experience designers, but also I really wanted to study with a PBL method. That was one of my main reasons as well of why I'm here in Maastricht University. User experience design, one of the most basic concepts of how it works is you're trying to solve a problem. And what better than from a problem-solving, problem-based learning system, right? It really just gained every skill that I need for my job. And with that, if you add to this that you're gaining new perspectives on how to view technology and all the ways that you can be aware of how you are designing these new technologies, then I think that would make me a great user experience designer.
Yeah. It's nice that you maybe already also embark on this on the conversation about PBL, because of course here in Maastricht University, the signature teaching ethos is problem-based learning, or PBL in short. Maybe it would be good if you could explain a little bit in your eyes what PBL is according to you.
Sure. Okay. Well, although we have lectures as any other university, we do our main focus is on PBL sessions or tutorials, which is more student-centered. It is a low scale. We're like about 15 students for each class and a tutor. And we are trying to solve problems ourselves in general. It is based on 4 principles called the CCCS, which is, if you could help me on this one. Collaborative. Constructive, contextual, self-directed. Right?
Yeah.
Yes. And you can really see that on practice. Definitely on the self-directed, as you can have this, well, you are the ones who take most of the role on the conversations, right? Also on collaborative, because you collaborate with the other students, right? You're not just listening to the tutor. You're actually just discussing with your peers or your friends at the discussion, and that's a system that I didn't really experience anywhere else. Definitely.
Yeah, the step-by-step of PBL is, we, as you said, it's a smaller class with a tutor, and we start with a short piece of text that is provided in the syllabus about whatever the module topic is going to be. And we take a few minutes, we read the short text, and then the first thing we do is we make sure that we all understand the text and we understand the key words that we are seeking to understand. And then from there, we create a problem statement, so an overarching question of what we want to achieve, what we want to answer by the end of the session. And then we create learning goals, so usually 4 or 5 more specific questions. Sometimes it's defining words, or it's talking, more about the ethics of a certain problem, or perceiving something through different theoretical frameworks. And then at the end of that session, you go and you read the assigned texts, and so that's the self-directed portion. And then when you come back together in the next tutorial, you do a very open group discussion with seeking to answer the learning goals based off of the text that you read.
Yeah. So what I find then very interesting in this PBL system, and it's also maybe something what you said is after an experience day, you said, I want to get to know the other students better, but also the teachers better. And I think that's what this PBL system also really allows. I mean, also, if you prefer to be a student and be anonymous in a large lecture hall, I don't think that this system works for you, right? And my question then also is much more to you is how do you like it? Okay, so now we know what PBL is, but how do you like it? Or liked it? Yeah.
I really loved it. It was one of the main reasons why I enjoyed the Bachelor so much. We were also a relatively small cohort in the first year, so we all knew each other really, really well. And that built a lot of trust, which meant that the classes that we had together in the tutorials, both with the tutors but also with the students, were always very engaged. Well, not always, but usually very engaged. There were also topics that we just didn't understand, and then we had to rely on the tutors more. But we had very honest discussions where we can also just share our own experiences with the technologies or with the problem at hand. And then based on that, learn together, because in PBL, something that you might not always think about, but is that everyone else also has their own experiences that they can then connect to what you're reading in the text and to what you're learning in the courses. And by making it both personal, but then also relating to the other in front of you, you memorize and you learn in a much deeper way than if you're just reading text by yourself or you're just listening to one lecture. And that's something that I learned throughout the years and that I still value a lot and that I actually also still use in my work. Both the listening to others and then really understanding what they're saying and collaborating on a problem. I mean, that's something that you encounter pretty much on a daily basis in most jobs in the workforce. So even if it's an academic way of learning, it's also a very applicable way to just then take those skills that you learned through PBL into your job and then learn to communicate in this way also with your coworkers and your supervisors.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah,
I agree. I absolutely love it. I think it gives me a lot of confidence in what I learn because, no matter how difficult the text is or how lost I feel at the beginning of a session, by the end of it, I feel like I have gotten so many different perspectives and, have really gotten to very solid conversations on the questions. And with the help of the tutors, never wondering, maybe we missed this point or, I think we didn't, really understand this. It helps me to walk out with a lot of confidence in what I'm learning. Yeah.
You know what it really did for me, PBL? I do really like it. And one of my most, for me, best characteristic of the insight that it gave me is that it took off my fear of speaking up my ideas with people.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you remember one of our first mentor meetings, that we talked about how, I was a bit afraid of speaking up to, especially with this new atmosphere of speaking English and everything. And I can see the progress. I can see the difference. And I think that's, thanks to PBL. And you can really see the progress. And also because of the period system, right? Of changing classmates and changing everything, it takes off the fear.
And now you're the ambassador, the social media ambassador.
I'm on a PodClass.
Talking about that actually is this is a live session, so normally you can also ask questions that you would have while you're listening to the conversation. Rafa, you can follow these questions online, and you can maybe sometimes pick one or two out, and then we can also address these questions. There is a little bit of delay, by the way. So,
it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, but then so that's PBL. So I already heard we have some lectures. Although the majority of your time you spent in small groups discussing complex issues in society regarding to different technologies like AI, for example, and then. You spend also some time in self-directed learning, so going maybe to the library or plucking relevant sources from the internet and studying them. Could you maybe tell me a little bit how the day in a life of a digital society student looks like?
Should I start with this one? Great. These last weeks have been a bit different just because of the exam week we've just been through. After classes or any tutorial right now, we stay in Fasos. We love Fasos. It's very comfortable. And we tend to after the class, we just go to one of the rooms at Fasos. One of our favorite ones is the attic, definitely, really cool one. And we just try to also just study there, collaborative. And then after that, if it's not enough, we just go to the inner city library. That's a great one. It has I gotta say, very comfortable chairs, but also it's a great place to study. It's also really close to a park. I also love to go after studying there. We get some food from the supermarket, and we are just at the wall, just admiring the deers and the ducks. Yeah. Very romanticizing,
I do it much differently. I think, I have a hard time studying with friends because I tend to just like to talk to them instead. So typically I come to Fasos for whatever lecture or tutorial I have that day. I also, I have a job, so I'm working part-time and I'm in a student association. So sometimes, if I have work in the afternoon or I have a association meeting in the evenings, I have, flexible time to be doing other things. And then I really like to do the readings just by myself, often in my apartment, because it's usually later in the evening. Sometimes if it's during the day, I'll do it here at Fasos or in the library. But I really like to, spread all my notes out and have a laptop screen and then have a notebook and then, have a book, whatever book I'm reading. And so really to like lock in and have time to really get into it and prepare, my readings for the next couple of days.
So that's also the nice thing of PBL, I guess, is it allows you to have a personalized way of studying, right? How was it for you, Leonie? How did you do it? How did a day in your life so long ago when you were still a student?
Oof, I don't think I can remember. No. I think it's also relevant to say that a good chunk of my time was during COVID, which was quite different than it is now. And we lost, I would say, about a year to just online education, which, especially for our cohort being the first cohort, was a bit tricky. But we tried to make up for it like crazy in our last year. And we basically just spent the entire day together. Most of the time we were, as I said, a very small group. And our tutorial classes were also relatively small. So sometimes we also just put the groups together. And so we tended to either meet before or after class to then either prepare the class we had still coming up or discuss what we had learned and then go over the notes for the next class. I think I started really figuring out how to live my life during the program and what is a good day for me. So doing my exercise in the morning or the evening, how much time I can study and what's my max, organizing my schedules for a week in advance so that I can know when I need to study and when I actually have some time off. But I would say that, during exam week, the workload was pretty high. Also, the week before exam week was also quite intense. But for the rest, I would say I was studying I was engaged in schoolwork, because sometimes it's studying, but sometimes it's also just actually being at tutorials or lectures for about 4 to 5 hours a day intensely. also depending on how much I was able to concentrate on that day. And then for the rest, I also had a part-time job. I was a student ambassador like you. And I also did some other smaller jobs. I did a lot of exercise. I met up with friends quite a lot. So to be honest, if I compare that to now my work life and my 8 hours a day, it was a bit less workload than a full-time job. But yeah, giving you the freedom to then also have a part-time job, which I really enjoyed doing next to my studies.
Yeah.
And also still enough time to actually enjoy the student life when you have it.
Yeah, that was a question that I would have. Is how would you rate the workload for maybe it's also different across years or for certain
Probably,
courses. But
yeah.
It is very different between the courses. I could not compare the amount of work that is needed for qualitative research methods in comparison to critical making, for example, or surveillance society, as it is a course that it's a 1 year long course approximately. So there's a big difference between courses. It's normally measured with credits. You do have to read a lot. That is something for sure, or watch as well sometimes. I don't know what would be the point of comparison here. I know people though who can feel stressed about it, but I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Yeah, I would agree with Leonie. If you balance your time well, if you manage your time well, you're not doing all of your readings the night before a tutorial, but you're planning well. I would say it's about 4 to 5 hours of intense engagement per day, and then again depending on the course, if it's more heavy on the research side, so you're doing a lot more theoretical work, a lot more writing. Sometimes then it'll be a little bit more,
And so, can you tell a little bit more what kind of topics that you have to study and that you have to read about, or that you have to watch things about?
Yeah, definitely. If I may start with Artificial Society, one of my favorites, definitely, and one of everybody's favorite, to be honest. It's a good
Is
one.
this for you also the case? Yeah. I would say so. Artificial Society. Okay. so no offense taken. I know as a teacher of more methodology courses, you don't make friends with students. But so tell me, artificial society. Okay, and what kind of topics do you see there, and what other topics in the program do you encounter?
Well, artificial society was a very abstract topic, very philosophical and abstract, and it really gave me one of the greatest questions that I could even doubt myself about intelligence. Alan Turing, the Turing test, with the fourth industrial revolution, definitely also a good one, about it going from rule-based to experience-based, and how technology can evolve to singularity. Those are pretty interesting topics to look around. And I don't know why I really connected a lot with digital cultures, where we also needed to watch some of the Black Mirror episodes in a more academic way. That was great. I love that one as well. So my top 2.
So what kind of topics do you see there?
This is the exam moment for the students.
Sorry?
This is the exam moment where they actually have to say what they're learning.
No, just in general. Like what? Okay, so we have in artificial society, you talk about artificial intelligence, but also about intelligence in the first place, and what it is, about revolutions. But then in digital cultures or in other courses, what kind of other topics do you see? I mean, you have digitalization of politics, also a course that we often hear that students like a lot. What kind of topics do you look at there?
Yeah, so in digitalization and politics, we talk about things like clicktivism. So the idea that activism is happening online and sort of debating the usefulness of that. What were some other things? We talked a little bit about the history of democracy and the development of democracy from early Greek and Roman foundations, and how technology might continue contributing to the evolution of democracy. Even questioning, does technology help lower the barrier of entry for people to be involved in their democracy and for people to be well educated on their political situation. Even things like the ethicalness of online voting and
I-voting, e-voting.
Yeah,
technocracy and what if technology governed our politics. Those were pretty interesting one in digitalization and politics.
Hmm.
In this course as well, but the Cambridge Analytica scandal and how that can impact democracies. And then this also for me always connected super well to a course called Making Knowledge and Manufacturing Doubt. And this is one of my favorite courses at the time that I still enjoy a lot. And it's quite in STS, which is a field called Science and Technology Studies. And STS also looks a lot at how do we create knowledge? What does science mean? What is the scientific method? How can you know that something is done in a scientific way? But then it also asks, how do you know that the information that you have is right? And how do you know, or how can you make sure that you're trusting information that is true or correct? And I think particularly in a political context where things like deepfakes are starting to pop up everywhere like daisies, and there's so much misinformation and disinformation, and it's so difficult to know what sources to trust and how to make up your mind. Courses like this and also just bachelors like this that really teach you the skills to understand the digital field that you're in and like just the political and sociological dimension of all of these technologies, I still enjoy a lot and I find really important in my job, but also just personally as a skill for life. And I think it's like digital literacy and understanding these things are skills that everyone should have. And these courses are prime examples of how to get them.
Yeah. And, these topics, Leonie, how did you learn to discuss them, and how does it relate to? How do you use that in your current job?
So, something that I took away from this bachelor that I also only realized in this job and through this job is the connections that we make. So actually the background, you can't see it, but there's this like networking thing happening in the background here. But these like making connections between things that are otherwise not that well connected or where you intuitively might not see a connection is something that this bachelor teaches us. And to really, I like calling it my network of knowledge that I got through this degree. So because it's so interdisciplinary and you learn from very different perspectives, it gives you an understanding that is super broad and something that I find super useful in myself and that I see that some of my colleagues are lacking who just did a very monodisciplinary degree, is that in most topics that we discuss at work, so ranging from actual technological details of how does a quantum computer work to what are the ethical dimensions of a research project in technology, I understand practically everything that's happening around me and I can have an opinion that is founded on experience or knowledge in all of these things. And as part of my job, I'm a project manager at something called an ELSA lab. And the ELSA lab looks at the ethical, legal, and societal aspects of data science and AI in relation to our poverty and debt lab. And because it's ELSA and it goes from ethical to legal to social and poverty and debt, it draws from a lot of academic disciplines, but then it also includes governments, it includes civil society organizations, it includes companies, and it includes universities. So just in the foundation of what it means, there is so much from so many different areas that it's really difficult to find one person. We're actually struggling with this. To find one person who understands all of it and who can then say, okay, with all of this together, how do we move forward? And how do we make sure that this project is actually doing what it's supposed to be doing? And it was serendipity that I got this job and that I can say, well, actually,
I am that person.
I am that person. And I have a background in all of this and have enough basics in all of these fields that I can help push this project forward and I can connect all of these people who otherwise are just so in their own disciplines that they can't really move beyond and connect to other people in other disciplines. And it's something that I had to learn that I can do, and also that my job is now learning that I can do, and where we're like, oh, actually, we didn't know that you had these skills, but now that we understand your background better, we can see how you really fit into this ecosystem and how these roles are actually perfect for people with your background. So this interdisciplinarity that I at first thought was going to be my downfall in the job, because I was like, well, I don't know, I know a lot of things, but I don't have this one skill, is now actually becoming the thing that makes me stand out in the job and where I can say, well, this is perfect.
And that's fascinating to hear, because that's in the end also really the cornerstone of the bachelor's program, right? Is that we aim to train students as interactional experts or bridge builders, and it seems as though that this is also really playing out well in your job.
For me, it worked.
Yeah.
I can say that for me, it was an amazing experience to just do the bachelor, but then also to see that what I spent 3 years on is then something that I will carry with me in my career, and that is something that is really appreciated and is really necessary in the field that I'm working in and that I want to stay in, which is basically social tech.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
kudos to you guys, and also to just the entire bachelor team.
Good to hear. I think we have 2 questions from the chat.
Definitely.
Yes, Rafa, can you maybe tackle them?
Yeah, one of the questions is about the experience day, and if we could talk a bit about it, especially because it's coming up on the 10th of April. It's I really recommend doing experience day. You get to experience how the PBL method works. You get to have this mini lecture, and just having a PBL session, going around a campus tour, I think is also included, and just to get to know a bit of how this system works. That's going to be on the 10th of April. That's the next one, and after that,
It's the day after tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
So
soon.
if you still want to attend the experience day, you probably shouldn't wait too long and contact us soon to register for that.
I would also very quickly just like to say, before I did the experience day, I had a very different view on what the bachelor is. It was the first year, so there wasn't that much information online, but the experience day is really what made me decide to come here. So both just seeing the city, seeing the students, seeing the staff, and getting an actual feeling of what the program is like, and actually being able to ask questions and talk to people. So if you can, and if you're in the location, I would definitely recommend going to an experience day, but also walking around the city and really trying to understand the place that you're going to be in for 3 years is very important.
Yeah.
And it was what made me come. So
That's good. I want to briefly talk about the city also in a little bit.
we will. I love the city. I think
Because the city has, of course, a few beautiful aspects. But let's maybe also look at the other question.
Yeah, definitely. The second one is more about the possibility of doing an internship during the program. And well, as we all know, in the 5th semester, the gates of heaven open, and we can choose between doing an internship, doing an Erasmus, or going abroad, or doing a minor here. And that is your option. So the quick answer is saying yes. You have a possibility to do an internship of the 5th semester from September till kind of February, I think. In my case, for example, I'm choosing an internship. I think it's the best for me.
Yeah, I think so. So maybe it's good to mention that the bachelor is 3 years, and the first 2 years are a fixed program. And the first period, or the first part of your 3rd year, you can pick and choose what you want to do. And so Rafa just mentioned the options. In terms of internships, here also we see that this interdisciplinary narrative of the bachelor works fairly well. We see students going into internal communications at, for example, some of the European institutions in Brussels, to doing some data scientific elements for a German company. We have people also entrance here, more scientific entrance at the faculty itself. So there's a very broad possibilities. We have entrance. Yes, I just get here from our technician a small note, and so yes, there's multiple possibilities in terms of internships. Also a very cool internship, for example, that I supervised was for a student at Microsoft in Amsterdam, and who also ended up working actually at Microsoft currently as a technology specialist. So I hope these questions answer, or these answers respond to your questions. Maybe one thing that we often hear, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this, is how much math do we need to do this program? How much statistics is in there? What's your experience about that in the program?
Yes, as you explained in some of the experience stage, you don't need to know a complex level of math. That's a question that they do a lot actually here. Of prospective students have about math in digital society. There's not much of it. It's mostly math is mostly based on the course's quantitative data analysis and a bit of it in the big data, but I'm not sure. It's if you're a third grade student, then I mean you can do it.
Yeah.
It's mostly logic than anything else.
Yeah. At the beginning of the Bachelor, I enjoyed math, but I was not good at math. And so I think it was, the level of math that we do is almost perfect for me because, you're not sitting down with a paper and a pencil and performing calculations. You are using softwares to harvest data, to, create numbers, and then you're learning how to analyze and interpret the numbers. So you get to enjoy the impact of math, and you get to enjoy the, being able to have a correct answer and then be able to apply that. But you don't have to memorize formulas or have high-level calculus experience or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not looking at the theory of math. It's more of looking at with math, what you can do with math in practice, basically.
Absolutely.
Even if you do struggle with it, which I did, I have never been a fan of math, and QRM was one of my least favorite courses, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of staff that will help you with it. So even if you're not very comfortable with math, I wasn't. A lot of my friends weren't. We're the same social science kind of people. But there's the other students, and you'll always have students who understand things better than you that you can ask. But you also have staff that are really willing to help and that are always there to just answer your questions. And especially Thomas here, who also teaches some of the more math-heavy courses, has also created guides and so much stuff that will help you out. So if that's one of your concerns, I get it. I had it too, but I graduated. So there is hope for everyone.
Yes. Yeah, I also think that the level of statistics is a rather basic level, basic social science statistics. That is very doable, and I think the stories here confirm that as well. So maybe then it's also a good bridge to go from statistics, as in the monster in many people's minds, to the city, which maybe, smoothens also studying here, and maybe also helps, maybe rooting here. I don't know. So how do you like the city? How do you enjoy it?
I absolutely love it. I constantly say I feel like it's a little hidden gem. It's it's a really good size city. I feel like I come from Atlanta, Georgia, and so coming from such a big city, I didn't want to live in such a big city. So I think it's small enough to where, within a couple of months, you're not using Google Maps anymore, and all of the little corners and side streets. But it's big enough that there's still plenty of things going on. There's something for everybody. And another thing I really appreciate is that it's a very diverse mix of people. I think often university cities tend to just be overwhelmed with students, but here it's a really good mix of older people and families, and feels like a really good home environment rather than just a temporary stop in my course of education. So I absolutely love it.
I think that Maastricht is a place that can also surprise you in many ways. Do you know how surprised I was when I saw that there were camels here?
Yes.
Can you? There's some hidden gems that you get. Maastricht in general is a hidden gem. If I've visited a lot of different cities around Netherlands and around Maastricht, so Germany and Belgium, and you can really see the difference in this place. It is a very diverse in terms of ages and relationships of all people and families. But I think the student knows that there's a lot of students in Maastricht and adapts to it. Especially for the jobs, for example, there's a lot of jobs that adapt to students and students' schedule, as well as, for example, for discounts. there's a lot of places where it's like 20% discount for students. And not just that, but also the way that the city is built, the size is great, and the lovely places that you can see on the parks, for example, and the outside of it. Yeah, I once, for example, just took my bike and had lunch in Belgium,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know I was in Belgium.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah, being so close to Germany and Belgium, it is a really nice place to travel out from. You know, if this is your home base, but then you can go all around the Netherlands, all around, Germany and Belgium, and it's a good jumping off point. Yeah.
Luxembourg is a popular one to go.
Yeah, of course.
Very nice.
I've been here quite long now. It's I think 4.5 years. There was like about a year in between where I wasn't here because of COVID, and actually to see the difference before and after COVID and the few times between COVID, you see how the city has come alive again since COVID and how much activity has returned, and also seeing the city from a student perspective to now seeing it as someone who's no longer a student, it's quite different. And there's a lot of cultural life, there's a lot of social life, there's a lot of exercise, and apart from that, the city itself is beautiful. I find it one of the most walkable cities I've ever been to, and I probably walk just as much as I cycle because I'm one of those people who can walk for an hour and be fine with it. So I feel super at peace and I feel super comfortable here. And in my home, I feel like I can really wind down because it's not always loud because you're in a huge city. But if you do want some life and you want some activity, you can just walk towards the city center. And especially as a student, there's so much to do. And there are so many student associations and so many activities that are happening at all times that it's just super, super fun, but without being overwhelming. And yeah, I don't know. I couldn't have really pictured myself in a big city, and I couldn't have imagined myself in a tiny city. So this was the perfect place in between.
Sounds like a good student city.
It is.
With camels and beers and
capybaras.
possibilities to walk and bike. Yeah, that sounds great. Maybe last question, because we're almost done. How do you see yourself in 5 years, maybe? What kind of career, your professional career, how does it look like after the Bachelor Digital Society?
It's difficult because we have so many options. We cover so many different topics. We really have a lot of freedom to explore a lot of different passions. For me, I'm hoping to do a master's involving cognition and technology. So focusing more on sort of the neuroscience and the psychology of technology and how it's changing our brains. And so from there, I mean, I'm interested in doing sort of ethical technology production and development. I'm even interested in, doing sort of a children's media, route and, looking at film and TV and social media and how that's impacting children and how that, impacts the development of the brain. So that's where I see myself right now, but I have a lot of options. So.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'd say that, well, in 5 years, we never know. But I hopefully I finish, apart from my bachelor, also my master as a new media design, which would be great. And hopefully I could start working in a hopefully influential technology company as a user experience designer, creating new technologies and reshaping new technologies that would make life easier and better for other people.
Nice. The architect of the new life. And for you, Leonie?
It's a bit different because I've already kind of started my career. I've been working at this company for about 1.5 years now. And also at the campus, it's really cool that I get to try out different jobs. So I have my official title, but even despite having this one official role, our team is relatively small, so everyone can help each other out. But I really like organizing stuff. Time management is something that I am relatively good at, and organizing tasks is just super fun for me, which is why like a project management role is what I naturally kind of fell into. But something that I've noticed now that I'm working is that I really enjoy this connection between academia and corporate, and then also from there the bridge to then governance and also the public sector.
Yeah.
So being at this interaction of these different fields is something that I obviously learned through my bachelor, but that I also just enjoy as a person. So project management of things like the ELSA labs or the ELSA network, which connects all of the ELSA labs in the Netherlands, is something that I'm engaged in now and that I would really like to stay engaged in. And then staying at the intersection of corporate, so of business and of academia, and then just having my foot in multiple doors is, I think, a pattern that I'm going to continue through the next years, I hope. But then again, I'm 23 for context, so I'm not going to go into a very fixed career path anytime soon. I'm going to try a couple of things out, which is kind of my 5-year plan. Just see what I enjoy, see which kind of jobs I'm good at and which kind of jobs suit me as a person. And then after those 5 years, I'll see if I settle on something. But for now, I'm more experimenting.
Very cool. This is also, of course, this bridge building aspect that the bachelor, I think, trains you well to do. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you too for tuning in this live Instagram podcast, PodClass. Maybe good to know if you're interested in joining this program. The deadline for registration is the 1st of May. And up until that time, you can also still register for a campus tour. 1st of May, indeed. And if you want to join the Experience Day, as already said before, this is in 2 days on Wednesday, so it's very short notice, but I'm sure there is a possibility to make a spot for you if you still register today. So thank you very much for joining us today, and well, maybe see you in September. Thank you.